Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On-Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on-demand care for common ailments, such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org.
Do you ever feel like you just don't have the time to sit down and read the news every morning? Sometimes things get so hectic you can't even scroll through your feeds while you're trying to get ready. A podcast from Boise State Public Radio has you covered. I'm George Prentice, and I want to invite you to check out The Connector every weekday morning. You can get up to speed on all of the Idaho news you need to start your day without ever interrupting your morning routine. All you have to do is hit play. That's The Connector from Boise State Public Radio. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Caudette. From Payette, Idaho to the Hall of Fame, Harmon Killebrew left a legacy that went far beyond the baseball field. He was known as the Killer. He thrilled fans with his home runs, setting records that earned him a place among the greats. But in his personal life, it was Killebrew's kindness, it was his commitment to helping others that really set him apart. And now Idaho Public Television is bringing that story to life in a new Idaho Experience episode, Idaho's Big-Hearted Slugger. So joining us now to talk more about Killebrew's life and legacy are Eric Westrom, director, producer, and videographer, along with Idaho Public Television's executive producer, Bill Manny. I want to welcome both of you back to the show.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
And Eric, let me start off with this new this new episode about Harmon Killebrew. It already aired, but folks can still watch it online. But can you start out by telling us a little bit more about Harmon Killebrew and who he is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you kind of hit it on in your intro. You know, he was a Hall of Fame baseball player. He would have been equivalent to like a superstar playing right now. But it was his legacy after his career that really stands out. You know, a lot of humanitarian work for kids with special needs, for cancer research, and it kind of just goes on from there.
And Eric, why did you want to bring his story to life like this?
I just think it's a story we should be telling of someone with that kind of, you just don't see someone like this as often now. So it's a story we should be putting out there.
And Eric, one of Harmon Killebrew's nicknames was the Killer. Now, this was what? Because he had a really powerful swing. Can you talk to us a little bit more about some of, his really big baseball milestones?
Sure. He was known as a killer, but everybody we talked to said, it's just the opposite of who he was off the field, and even on the field. He was still one of the nicer people. There's a home run he's pretty famous for, the longest in Metropolitan Stadium history, that went allegedly 525 feet to upwards of 630 feet. If you go to Minneapolis today, if you were at the Mall of America, they have a seat way high up on the wall where it would have landed in the upper deck, and then they've got home plate, 525 feet away.
Wow. That's really neat. So he played really during kind of what a lot of folks call that golden era of baseball, Eric. I mean, and we're talking, he played alongside other legends like Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron. But how did his playing style and even his personality really set him apart from those other big stars of that era?
Yeah, sure. He was known as a slugger, and he came up playing third base, and when he finished his career, he ranked, top 5 in all time in home runs, and he was one of the most dominant players of the 1960s.
And, really, Eric, despite, those, his incredible numbers and everything that he did on the field, he was really known, and as you mentioned, as being one of those nice guys, right? His humility. How did you see that? That modesty reflected in the way he approached the game and even how he interacted with his teammates and maybe even fans?
Sure. There's a great story that we tell in the show where when he receives his MVP award, there's a photo, he's looking down, the fans are giving him a standing ovation, and he's more humble. He wanted to just play the game. rather than, take a bunch of accolades. And, he, like one of the people we interviewed said, he didn't pump his fist. He was just a humble guy.
And how did you bring that human side to life on the screen, Eric? And I'm curious about how, maybe the fact that he, was born and raised in Payette, right? And the youngest of 4 kids, that had to have played into who he became as an adult, I would think.
Sure. He was actually offered a scholarship for the University of Oregon for football, but he
Huh.
turned it down to play baseball because his family needed the money. And to answer your question too, it was through the stories of people we interviewed that knew him personally that they were able to help bring that to life, and then we kind of weaved in the video and the photos to help really illustrate that.
And he really supported so many charitable causes throughout his life. Eric, can you talk to us about some of that work that he did? I mean, in particular, right, like after his retirement and what he and the generosity that he had.
Right. One of his friends when he was playing with the Twins was a man named Danny Thompson, and he was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 27, and he passed away at 29. And Harmon wanted to do something because at that time there wasn't a lot being done for cancer research. So he created what's now at that time was the Thompson Memorial Tournament. Now it's the Kellebrew Thompson Memorial Tournament that they raised funds for it every year. And they've raised, I think they're like close to $25 million now in their nearly 50 years.
And do a lot of the things that he did, charitable wise, I mean, you mentioned this tournament, but other things that truly live on today, even since when he passed away in 2011, I believe.
Yeah, and you've got the miracle fields that are all across the country that impact communities everywhere, where they created baseball fields that kids with special needs could go play baseball, and they're made specially for them so that they can use their walkers and their wheelchairs and everything to get around the field.
And Bill, I want to switch to you because we also want to switch gears here and let's talk about Outdoor Idaho because you've got a new Outdoor Idaho. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Coming up in December as part of our December Fest, we are going to feature volunteers in the outdoors. We figured with America's 250th anniversary coming up, what's a more American value than volunteerism? So we have 7 short stories about people who are volunteering all over the state, from parks to trails to wildlife habitat restoration. And in addition to that, we also have a new history show and a new art show debuting in December as well.
So, Bill, was there one particular volunteer story that stood out to you that you really want to make sure folks know about?
Well, there's several. We feature a high school class in Mackey that has created little mini fish hatchery, and they're restoring golden trout to the lower Cedar Creek tributary of the Lost River. So it's an amazing story about these kids in Mackey. Myself and videographer Maya Long got to go up and spend 4 days with an Idaho Trails Association crew rehabilitating trails in the Frank Church. So that was a special experience for me. So we got a lot of great stories in that show.
Mm. So, Bill, you mentioned Decemberfest. Tell folks what that is and really the importance of it for Idaho Public Television.
Well, in December and March, we go to our viewers and donors and ask them to support our work, right? We are non-commercial, supported with the support of our donors and foundations. And so twice a year, we go to our members and ask them to step up and help us do the amazing work of history and outdoors and arts and science and public policy, all the other shows that we put on. So we'll be premiering our local shows December 4th and December 7th. So it's coming up right away.
Okay, and you mentioned what two new shows, an art show, and what is the other one? And those will happen in early December.
Same, yeah. Also, Our Idaho Experience History series will look at sacred places, places like St. Gertrude's Monastery and Cataldo Mission. And then our Created series is going to profile one of the most prominent sculptors in America today, and he just happens to be working in a studio in Boise. So
Wow.
a couple amazing stories to share with our viewers and donors.
Well, I tell you, you guys do such great work over at Idaho Public Television. So happy to make sure people know the good work that you're doing there. We've been talking with executive producer Bill Manny and Eric Westrom. He is a director and producer and videographer. We've been talking about the episode of the life and legacy of Harmon Killebrew, as well as a new Outdoor Idaho episode that will be airing during December Fest. Now, you can watch all of this on Idaho Public Television, but the Harmon Killebrew episode already aired. So just go onto Idaho Public Television's website and you can also watch it there. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
Stay connected with Boise State Public Radio on Instagram. From breaking news and local stories to behind-the-scenes videos, it's where our community comes together. Follow Boise State Public Radio today.